The slap cracked through the air so loud it silenced the string quartet mid-note. My head snapped sideways, my cheek stinging instantly. I blinked hard. I tasted blood. My lip had split. I didn't cry.
I didn't flinch again.
I just turned back and looked him dead in the eye. Before we begin, drop a comment and tell us where are you from and from which city you're watching our videos? And after watching the whole video, don't forget to tell us what would you do in this situation? Be honest, tell me in the comments below. We read every comment. Let's begin. Sign it. My father hissed under his breath, his voice laced with rage and entitlement.
Do it. Now.
Before you humiliate this family further. Around us, the chatter inside the country club ballroom hushed to a stunned buzz. Champagne flutes paused midair. Eyes widened. Whispers flitted like sparks from a dying fire. My cousin Sophia's engagement gala had been designed to impress old money, gold-lit chandeliers, polished marble floors, violinists flown in from New York, and waiters who all looked like models. Every detail screamed class. But there was nothing classy about a father slapping his daughter across the face in a crowd of 200. My relatives didn't rush to help. They didn't gasp or protest. They laughed. Uncle Terrence chuckled and turned away like it was expected. Aunt Riley gave me a tight-lipped smirk and muttered, "Drama, drama, drama." Even my cousin Mason, who I used to share crayons with as a kid, looked at me like I'd just embarrassed him personally. Sophia, the star of the evening, simply rolled her eyes and whispered something to her fiancé that made him smirk. But I stood tall, because what none of them knew, what my father didn't even bother to ask, was that this morning, just before noon, I'd already transferred the Manhattan condo, the beach house in Montauk, and all 3 rental units in Grandpa's Arizona portfolio into my name. Every signature had been notarized. Every paper was legal. And they were all mine now. 30 minutes earlier, I'd walked into the gala wearing a simple navy blue dress, hair slicked back, and a matching envelope tucked neatly under my arm. It held copies of the transfer confirmations. I didn't come to flaunt them. I came because I wanted to keep peace. Because despite everything, I thought maybe, just maybe, my father wouldn't make a scene over one house. The old brownstone Grandpa left me. The one he and I had fixed up with our own hands. The one with the cedar porch swing and the vine-wrapped windows. The house that meant everything to me. But the moment I stepped into that ballroom, I felt the energy shift. It was like walking into a trap. Look who finally showed, Mason had sneered, raising his champagne glass mockingly. The heir of the broken house. Still think you're special just 'cause Grandpa gave you a few bricks. I ignored him. But then my father stormed over, red in the face, fury simmering just below his calm exterior. Let's talk.
Now.
I followed him to the corner. I knew it was coming. The pressure. The threats. The guilt-tripping. "I need you to sign it over to me," he demanded, shoving a stack of papers toward me with a cheap pen. "You're too young to handle property alone. Let me take care of it." I laughed under my breath. "You mean sell it out from under me like you did with Mom's jewelry? Or the car I bought with my own money when I was 17? His jaw clenched. "Don't be smart, Claire. That house belongs to the family. Not to you." "No, Dad," I said evenly. "It belonged to Grandpa. And he gave it to me." The slap came a second later. And still I didn't sign. The gala resumed. Conversations picked up. Music drifted lazily again. But I walked out, my head high. The night air outside was cool, and my phone buzzed in my clutch, a text from Attorney Kaplan. "All transfers confirmed. You're officially the owner. Congrats." I read it twice. Then I smiled. I maybe left with a busted lip and mascara smudged under my eyes, but I was walking into a future no one could take from me now. Not Dad. Not my relatives. And when they'd find out what else I'd inherited, what Grandpa had quietly left me, in accounts and assets they didn't even know existed, they'd regret ever treating me like some weak girl clinging to a house. Because I wasn't weak. I'd just started playing the game by their rules. And I was about to win it. 3 days earlier, flashback, but seamlessly integrated, no slow start. "You'll get nothing but trouble from them. Grandpa had said, coughing into his blanket as we sat on the porch swing of the brownstone. But that's why I'm not leaving this to them. I'm leaving it to you, Claire. The only one who ever showed up without a reason. I swallowed hard, trying not to cry. His hand found mine and squeezed it weakly. They'll come for it. They'll say you don't deserve it, he continued. But I've arranged everything. The deed, the trust, even the keys to the safety deposit box in Jersey. Use it if they push you too far. I didn't know what he meant then.
But now?
Every word made sense. That morning, I'd opened the safety deposit box. Inside was a single sheet of paper with 3 bank account numbers and a brief note. They mocked you because you were quiet. Now, let silence be a revenge. Back in the present, I sat in the back of a yellow cab, watching the city blur past the window. I wasn't going home.
Not to the brownstone.
Not tonight. I had somewhere else to be. Kaplan had arranged a private dinner meeting with a real estate developer who wanted to turn the Montauk property into a boutique wellness retreat. The bid was already 7 figures. I hadn't even returned the call yet. But I wasn't selling. Not yet. Because I wasn't just the girl who got slapped at a gala anymore. I was the girl about to reshape her whole damn family's legacy and make them beg for forgiveness when they realized just how far I was willing to go. And the best part? I'd do it all without ever raising my voice. The marble lobby of the Lexington Tower shimmered under warm, golden lights as I stepped out of the cab. My cheek was still faintly red, but I'd pulled my hair over it. Lipstick fixed the rest. In this world, appearance was everything. Especially when walking into a room where people didn't see you as the girl who got slapped, but as the owner of real estate they couldn't afford. A tall man in a crisp gray suit stepped forward. Ms. Claire Bennett? Yes, I said with a calm smile. I'm Julian Vance. I represent West Bay Estates. The Montauk offer is now $3.2 million. My client's prepared to transfer the funds by next Friday. We'd like first rights of negotiation for your Arizona properties as well. I looked him straight in the eye. I'm not selling. Not yet. He blinked. We thought this meeting was about finalizing. No, I said. This meeting is about showing you I'm not some naive little girl who got lucky in a will. I know the value of what I hold, and I plan to hold it longer. Julian studied me. His smile changed, more respectful this time. Understood. If you ever decide to move forward, call me directly. No middlemen. He handed me a sleek, embossed card. I tucked it into my clutch. The next morning, my father showed up at the brownstone, banging on the front door like he owned it. I opened slowly, arms folded. You're early. Want coffee before you insult me again? He looked exhausted, but pride was still stitched into every muscle of his face. You embarrassed me last night. Do you think that makes you powerful? I don't need to think, Dad. I already am. He stepped inside without asking, eyes darting around like he was taking inventory. That house was supposed to stay in the family. Your mother and I. You sold Mom's house the minute Grandpa got sick. He didn't reply, just stared at the hallway where Grandpa's old photographs still hung. I loved him too, you know, he finally said, voice tighter now. He wasn't perfect, but he knew what you were. That's why you got nothing. My father turned to me slowly, jaw clenching, and I waited for him to yell, to threaten, to explode again. But he didn't. He just scoffed bitterly and said, You're turning into him, Claire. Cold. Calculated. I smiled faintly.
No.
I'm just finally learning to protect what's mine. That night, I got a call from my cousin Sophia. I heard you're making moves, she said, her voice like sugar laced with cyanide. Dad's furious. Mom says you're ruining the family name. I laughed. You mean the name that's been pawning off inheritance to pay off gambling debts? Silence. Anyway, she continued quickly, there's a brunch at the estate tomorrow. You should come. Maybe clear the air? I'll think about it. Wear something nice, she added before hanging up. You wouldn't want to look out of place. I stared at my reflection in the mirror. They still didn't get it. I wasn't walking into rooms hoping to fit in anymore. I was walking in knowing I owned half the chairs. The next day, I arrived at the estate in a navy pantsuit Grandpa once told me made me look smarter than every man in the room. The moment I walked in, I felt the energy shift again. Only this time, I wasn't the outsider. I was the storm. Claire, Aunt Riley called from across the marble foyer, fake smile plastered on. So glad you made it. Of course, I said, air kissing her cheek. Wouldn't miss the last brunch you host in this place. She blinked. Excuse me? Didn't you hear? The deed was transferred to me this morning. Grandpa added this estate to the secondary trust. I get the papers next week.
Gasps.
Stunned silence. And then chaos. It was just beginning. Aunt Riley's smile twitched, then vanished altogether. She blinked rapidly, as if hoping I was joking. That's not possible. This estate has been in our branch of the family for 38 years, I said flatly. Yes, I know. But the mortgage was tied to Grandpa's trust. After he passed, it reverted to the beneficiary. That's me now. Sophia stood across the brunch table in a blush pink dress, gripping her mimosa so tightly her knuckles turned white. You're bluffing. I opened my purse and slowly pulled out a copy of the transfer form, dropping it on the table like a royal flush. Page 2. Signatures. Bank confirmation. It's done. Everyone froze. Even the help had stopped moving, plates midair. Uncle Terence shot up from his chair. You think you're so clever, Claire. But you're just a brat playing grown-up. You'll ruin everything.
Funny, I said.
I thought ruining things was your department. Didn't you refinance your own home 3 times and beg Grandpa to cover it? Didn't he pay your debts, then make you sign over your half of this estate in exchange? He went pale. Aunt Riley stumbled backward, as if a ghost had passed through her. Don't believe her, she said quickly. Claire's always been dramatic. I tilted my head. You mean like when you told everyone I faked my panic attacks to skip family events? Silence. Even Sophia's smirk fell off. I wasn't screaming. I didn't need to. I was armed with proof, with calm, and with every painful memory they thought I'd buried. After brunch collapsed into scattered excuses and whispered curses, I walked through the garden path toward the greenhouse, Grandpa's favorite spot. I needed air. Silence. And there he was. Mason. Leaning against the garden arch, arms folded, face unreadable. I didn't know about the trust, he said. I raised an eyebrow. Sure you didn't? No, really. I thought Dad was bluffing when he said he had everything locked down. I didn't know Grandpa left it all to you. I stayed quiet. He looked down at the gravel. It's not that I thought you didn't deserve it. I just didn't think you'd fight this hard. I turned to go, but he stepped in front of me.
Claire, wait.
Can I ask something? What? He hesitated then. Why didn't you ever say anything? Why didn't you tell people what they did to you growing up? All the times they humiliated you. Because I thought if I stayed quiet, they'd love me eventually. I said, voice sharp now. But I was wrong. The only thing this family respects is power. Mason didn't respond. He didn't need to. Because now, I had it. And I wasn't done using it. That night, I sat alone in Grandpa's study. A quiet room filled with dusty books, maps, and an old desk drawer that still smelled like his aftershave. I opened the bottom drawer. Inside was a sealed envelope with my name in his handwriting. My hands trembled as I opened it. Claire, if you're reading this, it means you did what I hoped you would. You stood your ground. I'm proud of you. They'll come for more, I know they will. But don't let them.
You're not the black sheep.
You're the shepherd now. And this family? They don't even know the wolves are watching yet.
Love. Grandpa. He was right.
Because the next morning, I received an email from a private investigator I'd quietly hired last year, back when things first fell off with the will. Subject line, confidential, Sophia's mother diverted hospice funds. Documents attached. I stared at the screen. My breath caught. So, it wasn't just about real estate anymore. It was about fraud. And if what I was reading was true, my aunt had done something criminal. I stood up slowly. It was time to decide. Let it go? Or bury them the way they tried to bury me. I forwarded the documents to my lawyer with one line. Proceed with everything. Quietly. Within hours, Kaplan responded. We'll notify the State Board and Ethics Committee. Keep your distance for now. Don't engage. But I wasn't just waiting for paperwork to move. I was preparing my final play. 2 days later, I arrived at Aunt Riley's charity luncheon. Yes, I was invited, likely a trap, but I went anyway. Wearing Grandpa's gold wristwatch and the same navy suit I wore to his last business meeting. I walked in alone, calm, with not a hint of tension in my face. Because the truth? I was about to detonate a bomb. The garden was full of guests. Politicians. Bankers. Neighbors who still sent fruit baskets every holiday. Aunt Riley stood under a white tent, holding a microphone. Our foundation is committed to caring for our most vulnerable, she said, voice sweet as syrup. Especially those at the end of life. I stepped forward and spoke loud enough for half the garden to hear. How touching. Are you planning to steal from this hospice too, or was that a one-time thing? The mic squealed. Heads turned. Riley froze. What did you just say? She hissed, stepping down quickly. Her smile was gone. You heard me, I said. Or should I forward the wire transfer logs and emails to the local press first? Claire, she snapped. You don't know what you're talking about. Oh, I do. So does my lawyer. And soon, so will the State Ethics Board. I wonder how your donors will feel once the full audit report's made public. I didn't need to yell. I didn't need a crowd. All I needed was truth. And now I had it on my side. Sophia cornered me afterward, trembling. You're destroying our family. I tilted my head. I'm revealing it. We're supposed to protect each other. You laughed when my father hit me. You mocked me for holding on to a house instead of marrying rich. What exactly am I protecting, Sophia? She blinked, speechless. I left her standing there. The fallout came fast. Within 72 hours, Aunt Riley resigned from the board she co-founded. Her photos vanished from the hospice website. Donations froze. Investigators began reviewing every transaction from the last 5 years. Uncle Terrence called me. I didn't answer. My father showed up again. This time he knocked, not banged, on the brownstone door. Can we talk? I let him in. He looked smaller now. Not physically, just defeated. Like a man who realized the game had shifted and he was no longer holding the pieces. I messed up, he said quietly. I let my bitterness poison everything. I didn't speak. He ran a hand through his thinning hair. You didn't deserve any of it. What I did. I just didn't want to be left out. Watching your father get nothing, it makes you feel invisible. You hit me in public, I said, voice calm. And the only reason you're here now is because I won. He nodded. You're right. We stood in silence. Then he asked the only question that really mattered. What happens now? I didn't give him an answer then. Because I didn't know yet. Redemption wasn't always a clean thing. Sometimes it was jagged, uneven. It required time and effort, and not everyone deserved that chance.
But me?
I was no longer the one begging for belonging. I was the one deciding who got to stay. It took weeks.
Not for them to fall, that happened fast.
But for me to realize I didn't need to keep watching. The more I rose, the more they crumbled. Not because I ruined them, but because they'd built everything they had on borrowed power and unearned pride. And once Grandpa was gone, there was nothing shielding them from their own shadows anymore. Aunt Riley? Charged with multiple counts of fraud. The hospice board publicly cut ties. Uncle Terrence? Declared personal bankruptcy. Turns out Grandpa's quiet bailout had been covering more than gambling. It included hush money for debts Terrence had owed to private lenders. Sophia tried to move on quietly, rebranding herself as some kind of lifestyle influencer. But her reputation and her fiancé vanished once the scandal spread. Mason was the only one who tried. He called twice. The first time to apologize. The second time to say he was leaving town, heading west to start something clean. He asked if I'd ever consider forgiving the rest of them. I didn't answer right away. Then I said, they didn't just hit me. They dismissed me, laughed at me, For years. Forgiveness isn't owed. It's earned.
He said he understood.
I believed him. Months passed. I kept the brownstone. I renovated the kitchen just like Grandpa wanted. I turned the Montauk property into a quiet artist retreat, not a wellness resort. The Arizona homes? I donated one to a single mother housing program, just like Grandpa would have done. I wasn't just building wealth. I was building peace. But I wasn't soft. Not anymore. Because I'd learned something powerful. Silence isn't weakness. And calm doesn't mean surrender. It means control. One rainy afternoon, I stood on the porch with a warm mug of tea, staring out at the garden. I could still hear Grandpa's voice sometimes, teasing me, pushing me to think bigger, bolder. And I did. I hadn't just survived what they did to me. I'd rewritten what came next. Weeks later, I received a letter. From my father.
Short.
Just a few sentences. Claire, I don't expect anything. I just hope, someday, you can remember me as something better than who I was at that gala. I'm proud of you.
Dad.
I folded the letter, put it in a drawer. Maybe one day I'd respond. But for now, I was at peace. I had the house, the land, the name, and more importantly, I had myself. Unshaken, unbent, unstoppable.